Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Apologize for the slight delay. We're working on technical things and we are learning about Zoom bombing and all the precautions we now have to take to minimize the threat of a Zoom bomb, which is something that learned about only in the last couple of weeks. So really thank the EOEL team and Kevin and Tara and Yuko for the all the support. So right now, what we're trying to do, what Kevin is doing is giving everybody, all the board members, co-host status, because then that way you can mute and unmute yourself. Everybody else is muted. So only board members are given co-hosts, and that's so we can unmute and mute without having to ask. Okay, so it'll minimize the threat of a Zoom bomb. Okay, so let me okay. So what time is it now? It is 1:37, and I'll officially call the meeting to order and ask Deanna Dolier to read the vision and mission.
Aloha, thank you. So the vision, creating a sustainable early learning system that partners with families to ensure that every child is healthy, valued, and successful in school and life. And the mission is to support children's academic and lifelong well-being by directing and supporting the EOEL for an effective, coordinated, high-quality early learning system from prenatal to kindergarten entry.
Hello. So announcements, excuse me, I don't expect to see Alana on, but yeah. So our board member, Alana, had her baby Juliana, and so we congratulate her. And so at our last meeting, in the morning, at the retreat, there was a Zoom bombing threat. Well, I guess that person put a swastika up and then had this high-pitched noise, and Kevin was able to cut that person out, who was based in New York. And also, the team has learned that other public meetings have come under this event. So Hawaii Teachers Standards Board and charter schools. So it's something that, you know, we are a public meeting, so we can't close it. So what Kevin is doing is really working to minimize the threat. So that's why he has to kind of go down the line and give all the board members co-host status. So that's one of the measures that we're doing. So thank you very much, Kevin, for working on all of that, and you know, Tara working on what we should do or have any kind of a plan. You know, technology just keeps on evolving. So I will take roll. Make sure I'm doing things in the right order. Okay. Alana Souza. Having baby, she's with baby. Kau'i Burgess.
Phil.
Cheryl Pudiamat.
Yeah.
Dr. Soma Gandhi.
Aye.
All right. Dr. Lindsay Ikak.
Here.
Thank you. Joni Onishi.
Here.
Stephanie Shipton.
Here.
Okay. Dana Luca.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Disa Augie. Not here yet. Okay. Deanna Dolier.
Here.
Okay, Napua is not here. Kim Gibb for Steve Schatz. Oh, yeah, sorry, he's gonna give you,
Okay.
co-host,
Yeah.
Kim and,
Alright.
also Keiko. Keiko is gonna be here for Matt.
Thank you. I'm here.
Okay, thank you. And Keiko?
Here.
Mahalo, so Keiko is attending for Matt Shim. Ben
Yes.
Nasi?
I'm here.
Mahalo. Dr. Ephraim Schwab?
Here.
Hey, mahalo. Okay. The next thing is the minutes from my last meeting on September 11th. Mahalo to Tara for the minutes. Are there any edits or corrections to the minutes? Mahalo to everyone for attending last month because it was our in-person meeting. It was just great to have that energy of everybody in the room. Not hearing any corrections or edits. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
This is Cody Burgess and I move to accept the minutes as submitted.
Mahalo, can I have a second?
This is Joni, I'll second.
Okay, mahalo. And last chance, any corrections, edits? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to take the vote with the voting board members. Cody,
Aye.
Cheryl,
Aye.
Soma,
Aye.
Lindsay,
Aye.
okay, Joni,
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Okay, mahalo, the minutes are passed as submitted. Okay, oh, thank you. Public comments. Any, okay, the other thing that, so is chat only going to you?
Yes.
Okay, so another safety precaution is all the chat is going to Kevin. So public right now cannot comment unless you put in the chat that you want to make a comment, then Kevin can give you, can unmute you. So if anybody wants to make comment on the minutes, I'm gonna count to 3. Nothing in the chat. Okay. Mahalo. Okay, so I'll give it over to Yuko for an EOEL for the updates.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Here are our October updates. And Kevin, if you're able to give our EOEL team who are online the ability to unmute themselves just for this portion, that'd be great. Perfect. So here's the updates on action item number 1, workforce development and support. Ian?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ian Okamoto, Workforce Development Specialist with the Executive Office of Early Learning. Like to share this opportunity that we have recently released. Really excited that we released this opportunity for a director's training through NECPA. It is the National Administrator Credential, and it's an online program. We released it about 2 weeks ago, and within that 2 weeks, we've already seen quite a few applicants, and it's a great opportunity for folks to be able to receive some training in administration. It's also provides information regarding running a business. And actually the slide there contains kind of the pieces that are covered through the training. The training will be needed to be completed by the end of the year, by December 30th. But all costs for the training are covered through this program.
If I could just add, I think, we originally slotted like 25 seats. And then it started to grow, so we're gonna expand it to 35, but it got really close to 35, so right now we said 40, but I think we're close to 40 people who are interested in just 2 weeks, and so these are for community-based providers who are currently directors or are interested in maybe one day becoming a director. And so, if you're interested, there's no pre-qualification of whether you are a director or you want to, and we don't need to see your proof of that. We're just trying to really build capacity within the community-based provider setting. And this will also help, as some comments have already mentioned, because we asked, why are you interested in this? And some people just want to further their professional growth and development, and some people see this as being helpful on their path towards accreditation.
And there's just a simple form for applicants to fill out, and along with the timeframe to complete the program, we just also want to ask for the ability to get some feedback and some ongoing contact with the program. At our last meeting, there were some questions regarding our stipend program, in particular about the folks who were terminated from the program. So we have that information to share regarding the terminated participants. There were a total of 18 folks who were terminated, and going through the data that we have, there were 3 folks who were terminated because they had a change in their academic program, and so we're no longer in early childhood education. So those folks, because of that change, needed to be terminated from the stipend program. There were 5 individuals who were terminated due to a combination of inactivity and then also a low GPA. We have a GPA requirement in place just to ensure that folks can successfully complete their programs. And that's kind of in alignment with the minimal GPA that's required to complete a program. There was one individual who was inactive and then also non-responsive after repeated attempts and over the course of the 3 months. And so they were terminated from the program. There were 6 individuals who withdrew from the program or school altogether for a number of different reasons. And with that withdrawal, they were terminated, and anyone who does withdraw then does need to pay back the stipend funds that they received, fortunately. And then there were 3 folks who were terminated because they chose to exit because of concerns around the workforce commitment and being able to meet the work commitment, being able to meet the work commitment in the area that's required in the early learning space. So yeah, that's just a program breakdown there.
Thank you, Ian. The next action item is around addressing facilities for ECE programs. And so EOEL has received funding at the at the beginning of the last session to open 25 new classrooms at the beginning of this school year and 25 at the beginning of next school year. And so there was one marking period of September 30th by which we had to give the names to School Facilities Authority. And at that time, there were 18 sites, 22 rooms on Oahu, and one on Hawaii Island, and one with one room on Hawaii Island. We are in conversations with other schools that are interested. So since September 30th, there have been 3 additional requests to us for either for more information or consideration to come out and have a site visit. So all of these sites are being assessed right now by the School Facilities Authority. For action item number 3, funding for the early care and education system. One of the things that came up at the last board meeting was taking a look at not only support for Hawaiian language programming, but also the charter schools. Somebody had asked where are the charter schools' new pre-K classrooms, and here they are. So on Oahu, we have Ke Kula o Nawahi o Kalaniʻopuʻu, Iki Laboratory Public Charter School, which is on the Nanakuli campus. It is a Hawaiian language program with 20 seats. It's their second classroom. We have PACT, of course, the Parkway Villages preschool, everybody has heard about, 80 seats, 4 classrooms. Waialae Elementary Charter School opened this year with 20 seats. It's their second classroom. Waikiki Community School, 98 seats and 6 classrooms. And then on Hawaii Island, Ke Kula o Nawahi o Kalaniʻopuʻu Iki Laboratory Public Charter School in Hilo, 20 seats. It's a Hawaiian language program. It's their second classroom. Kuakala Charter School, 22 seats. It's their second classroom. And Kona Pacific, 20 seats, and that's their second classroom. So we really appreciate, working with charter schools and their ability to open up new classrooms, and also a lot of this in partnership with School Facilities Authority.
Where is Kuakala's? That's.
Hilo, I don't know exactly where in Hilo.
Dana had a question for Ian.
Oh, okay.
I can see chat, I guess because we're co-hosts, we can see
Yeah,
chat.
because-
Yeah. So, Dana, you wanna ask Ian your question?
Okay. Sorry, Ian. Can you refresh my memory? What is for the stipend program? What's the GPA requirement and then also the work commitment requirement?
Okay, so the work commitment requirement is a 2-year work commitment, following completion of their program. And that is, within, any program, serving the early learning space, as defined by statute. So, that's, working directly with children, birth through age 5 until the time they enter kindergarten. And so that's the requirements for the work commitment. And then when it comes to the GPA requirement, it's a minimum GPA of 2.0 for all for their cumulative GPA, I should say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we learned that there will be a new PDGB, or there may be a PDGB 5 systems building grant that could possibly be released. We originally thought it was going to be released maybe in May, then June, then July, then August, and September. We're in October now, and the due date has not changed yet. Where you can see it's November 17th, so we're not really sure if or when it's going to be released, but as recent as this morning, we pulled together a bunch of people who have been a part of the prior PDGB 5 grants to start to brainstorm what could we focus on. And so knowing that we don't know all of the details of it, just making sure that we're ready to be able to come forward with some sort of solid idea in a very short amount of time, making sure that we know who can be financially responsible for the grant, what might we write in. And previously the grant, there was a systems building grant for a year And then a renewal grant for a period of 3 years. It could have been different at some point in time. But now they will just be offering systems building grants in 1 year increments. And the total dollar amount is dependent on different factors, so they will, when they release the opportunity, they will say who is 100% eligible and how much they are eligible for. And so we don't really have those details, but we know that we would not want to let an opportunity like this pass by. So we are working together to try to figure out what could we turn that quickly into an application and what could actually be administered if we are awarded in that 1 year period of time. So just so you know, we are looking at that. So there's the opportunity number and what it's titled. And if you wanted to go take a look and you can just track it with us. Action item 4, program quality improvement and maintenance. Lane, do you want to talk about this?
So we had received a request to submit a letter of support for Chaminade when they submitted an application for this federal project funding. So as you can see from the slide, it's called Project Malama. And it's a project that is working to give a professional pathway for infants and young children for developmental. So it's a early intervention post-baccalaureate certificate. So they're working on a program right now. And it came through the Department of Education, the Office of Special Education Programs. So they just notified us that they received it and they are in the process of developing their program and certification and how that is going to work.
And the minimum requirement for people who may want to enter this program when it is fully available is that they must hold a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. And so we're really excited to be able to offer this in partnership with, to have been able to support Chaminade with this application.
And then, just for anybody who's listening online, can you just go describe early intervention, like what does that mean?
Oh, thank you. And is Keiko on for Matcham right now? I think Keiko would actually be a really great person to speak to early intervention.
Hi,
Keiko,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, that's a great question. So our early intervention program is the one that serves children with disabilities. It's part of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. And really, we're trying to make sure that we have enough providers who can serve and work with these children. So there's different positions that are available, but really it's getting that basic understanding of what their special needs might be and how we can better service. So this is a really good opportunity to increase our workforce because sometimes the shortages is what really hurts us in the end. Just like in childcare, the workforce shortages affect us all. So this is a good opportunity as we can build capacity through our higher education system. So we're thankful for this.
Thank you, Keiko. I just wanted to make sure people are aware. We know we've been hearing at the different schools and the different DOE meetings that some of our families are struggling with disabled learners, and this is one way that the state is helping. So just wanted to make that clear on what that was, and thank you for that.
No,
Hello.
thank you. Yep.
Thank you, Keiko. So we're gonna move on to our broader system updates. So family support. Ethan?
Yeah, aloha everyone. So this coming week, we have the Office of Head Start West Family Engagement Conference where Head Start leaders from across the country will be coming to Lahaina, Maui. It's gonna be a good time for them to come and build partnerships and learn about different programmatic opportunities and I think one of the key features that I think is going to be very meaningful in this conference is they're going to go to visit some of the Lahaina early child care education centers. There's going to be panel discussions that talk about resilient communities and how to react in moments of crisis. And so all these national leaders can then go back to their home communities And if they're dealing with hurricanes or tornadoes or wildfires, they can build upon these stories that they're gonna learn from our Lahaina community and translate that across the country. And I think that's gonna be a beautiful experience for all involved. So we're looking forward to that next week.
Thank you. For special needs and early intervention, keep it there.
Okay? Yeah, so, and if you can put the slide back up, please, so I can see that just a second.
Oh, wait. So Kevin, my slide is still showing that I'm presenter.
Oh.
And that I'm, so how about if I stop sharing and I can try again? Sorry.
Yeah. But I can continue on with that. So in December, we have, and colleague to your comments earlier, we have the transition summit coming up in December, which is looking at the C to Part B transition and looking at building out, possibly rebuilding out STEPS teams and getting communities together to work with families on that transition. So we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be either December 16th or 18th, still to be determined. So I'll give a report out next early learning board meeting to let the community know exactly when that's been finalized. And that brings together participants from 619, Head Start, DOH, DHS, charter schools, all our community partners to kind of collaborate to work on how we're going to facilitate that on the community level and have the community really inform that piece.
Perfect. And so when you see on the slide where it says Part C, that's the early intervention,
Mhm.
and Part B is the portion that where special education services comes under the Department of Education. So how do children and families transition between the Department of Health's Part C early intervention into the Department of Education's Part B special education services? Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you.
And for early learning, is Marlena on?
Yes.
I am here.
Okay, perfect. You wanna go ahead?
Absolutely. Aloha, everyone. Really excited to share some of our updates in EOEL for public pre-K. The first thing that I'd like to share is that we have a process for our SPED referrals, for special education referrals for the youngest of our children who might need extra support. And I just wanted to walk through the time, kind of like our process for that, our workflow for that. When families apply to our public pre-K programming, and they indicate that they have a concern about their child's development and learning, we actually do a child find intake form with the information that we have and gathering more information from families. And our staff in our EOEL office, they call the family, they get consent to make the referral and actually explain the process to them and providing the information that the families might have about the process. And then we pass it along to the child's homeschool team, where they can go ahead and do further analysis and testing if needed to help create a plan so the child can be successful. So I just wanted to share, and our team wanted to share just what our referral looks like, our referral process looks like, because in the next slide, because we have so many new classrooms open now, as Yuko shared, we have 25 new classrooms that open this year. Our funding is already secure for 25 more. And so we understand that scaling could be an issue if we let it. And I wanted to just share with everyone that we have a really strong process in place that to help us, and we're constantly tweaking that process to make sure that we are meeting all of our families where they are and all of our children where they are. And so even as we expand for another 25 more classrooms next year, that this is probably a question that's often asked of us is, you know, how do we support students that might have a few concerns so early on? So I wanted to share that with everyone here. Also, I wanted to share that we have begun our professional learning community series for all of our pre-K staff, and that includes our teachers, our educational assistants, for our pre-K educational assistants, as well as the administrators that are in our public pre-K program. So we have just a high-level view. We have 4 key focus touch points that we have: September, November, February, and April. Our September professional learning sessions were such a success. Again, our teachers come, our pre-K teachers come, our principals of those schools come, and so do our community partners as well. Our focus for this year is early literacy, And we have the early literacy guide here referenced because this is what we're diving deep into of how we can continue to promote literacy in our public pre-K classrooms. And then lastly, next slide, we are excited to have two of our returning Hawaiian language immersion classrooms coming back, but we have two new classrooms, as you can see here on the slide. And what's really exciting about this is not only is it immersed in Hawaiian language and culture, but also we have professional learning for the teachers, for the educational assistants and the principals and the community partners that are specific to Hawaiian language and Hawaiian language immersion classrooms. So we have an upcoming site visit on October 23rd, and we're excited to partner with our community partner around helping to develop and design our professional learning experiences for our teachers, for our principals, for our educational assistants, and also for additional community partners that participate in this process. And that is it for early learning.
Thank you, Marlena.
Sure.
Hi, this is Lindsay. Could I ask a question?
Sure.
How does it work with free pre-K versus like DOE sped? And if we have, like, for example, as a provider, if I have a kid I'm worried about, I usually make a DOE referral. So do kids in free pre-K get the same services as DOE, or like how is it different or similar, or like what's the connection there?
So are you asking about the referral process for children who are younger than 3?
No, for 3 to 5. Like if you're referring for DOE.
Oh, sorry, if they're for DOE.
If they refer for DOE.
Yeah.
I can answer that.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, that's a great question, Lindsay, because sometimes it can be confusing, for sure. So because all of our programs are based in DOE schools, so it's like an added layer, right? So when we have families that apply to be a part of our program, this is just one of the ways that we are able to address any concerns that the parents might have right then. But of course, because if we have teachers that notice a concern, or if families bring that concern to the teachers there, then they go through the same process as, say, a kindergartner would, or a first grader or a fifth grader would. It is through the DOE that provides that special education support, and we partner with them to create that inclusive classroom experience based on the needs of the child.
Can I add to that? Hi, this is Cheryl Kudiamat. Lindsay, I think I know your question. So for a community-based preschool, we would basically refer our children first to their pediatrician. So hence like Lindsay, and then with their pediatricians, I guess, blessing, because it has to be a team effort, right? With the parents and the pediatrician, then we'll refer the child to the DOE. So I guess the question is, that I was also thinking, is at the elementary school, there are 2 classrooms, correct? The pre-K classroom and then the special ed classroom. So if you have a child who is special needs in the pre-K classroom, would they move over to the DOE classroom, hence freeing up a space? Or will you give support services into the pre-K classroom? That's my question.
Okay, I wonder if those are the same questions, but I can also respond to this. So anytime there's a child anytime anybody has a concern about a child, you can bring it to your school. Anybody. It doesn't have to go through pediatrician, it can come from anybody. And so that's part of the child find process, is to find these children, make it known, and then let the process work itself out at the homeschool. Now, in terms of like programming and placement for the child, that's a team decision. And so I can't make like a general statement about what each child's needs are. That's determined by the team. EOEL Public Pre-K does have children who receive special education services in EOEL Public Pre-K, and as well as I know that the children with special education services also receive services at Head Start and other community-based programs too. But that's a team decision. So in terms of if you have, let's say, a Head Start an EOEL, fully self-contained special early childhood special education classroom on campuses, that is up to the team to make those decisions.
And that makes sense based
Mhm.
on their needs. It
Yes.
could just be speech, it
Mhm.
could
Yeah.
be more.
Yes,
So hence,
Yeah.
it would depend, if
Yes.
that makes sense. Okay, thank you.
yes.
Yeah, Cheryl, that did clarify my.
Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess, because they're still two separate systems, right? Because my understanding is when I make a SPED referral for DOE from 3 to 5 years old, when I make that referral, my understanding is they have to go to a certain school in that process. But then EOEL free pre-K is you don't have to go to a certain school. So are they still separate ways of getting into
Okay.
services?
I know what you're speaking about now. Okay, so perfect. So, you're correct. EOEL public pre-K is not available on all school campuses. So
Yeah.
that's correct. When a child, the intake process for, the evaluation of a student with special needs it starts at their home school. So,
Uh-huh.
that is where it will always start, at the child's home school. So let's say that there is a child who happened to apply, let's say for EOEL and was found eligible for special education services. So then if the EOEL public pre-K classroom is not on their home school's campus, then that is a conversation with the complex area superintendent and deputy district educational specialist to determine whether or not, like, where the child can or should receive their services. So that is their conversation about transitioning services and support to a whole different school, or like what is the best way for the child to get serviced. And so that's where there's a lot of coordination on our pre-K team. If you have a child, let's say we could have a child who's at Kuvio because that's where we're housed. But they belong to a different home school. So let's say through child find process, we highlight this child, it still starts at their home school. And then that's where the coordination comes in, at the complex area level. If we're going to be shifting students with services to schools that are not their home school. That's a lot of, coordination, but we have done it before.
Okay, so you guys talk to each other and figure out where is the best spot and things like that.
Yeah, it really depends on what the child's needs are.
Mhm.
Yes, and sometimes we find out that children are in process when they get to register, and then so we have to put a lot of puzzle pieces together
Mhm.
to help support their families too.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mikako, if you're online.
Yes, hi. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to share information from the Department of Health, Physical Activity and Nutrition branch. It's about a map called Ono for Hawaii. With this map, you can locate food hubs, farmers markets, and ECE-friendly farms and gardens. You can also work with local food growers to provide hands-on learning opportunities for keiki. And you can also purchase and use locally grown produce in meals and snacks. There's a lot of interest in consuming more locally grown produce, so please visit the Department of Health website using the QR code listed there and then share this map with your ECE community. Thank you.
Are there any comments?
Yes, Charlene asked a question earlier. She was saying about going back to mentioning 18 terminated out of a total of how many?
Ian?
It's on that first slide.
Let me go.
153. It's 153?
I think so.
Yeah.
So there were 153 stipend recipients between summer of 23 to spring of 25. And there were 18 terminated at the, from the program. Any other questions?
I had a comment too also for Ian, so I didn't want to interrupt earlier.
Okay.
Regarding the director's training.
Yeah.
Is that a mainland-based trainer or local?
It's on 100% online.
Oh, okay.
There is a live, grading component.
Oh, okay.
It is, this is a national organization.
Oh, okay, that's what I thought, no, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add as a director myself, just some notes, yeah. Definitely, I guess, training on how to deal with specifically Hawaii families.
Yeah.
And of course, Hawaii staff, like you can imagine, so
Yeah.
having that local touch.
No,
Yeah.
thank you for that,
Yeah.
comment. That is something that we're, this is something that we're hoping to get more information
Mhm.
around regarding the needs and how to best support, our directors and.
As a
folks in
foundation.
administration. And yeah, and then from this
Mhm.
and kind of given the response, I think we're gonna see what type of, follow-up supports and other professional development opportunities we can provide.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know if people realize directors actually, there's a huge turnover
Yeah.
in preschool directors, unfortunately.
Absolutely, and we have heard the same, and this is actually a lot of, from a lot of the comments that you have offered here. We do know that we believe Patch and Maui
Oh, they do,
Community
yeah.
College
Yeah,
offer
training.
directors training, so people feel like that's more like of more value or more aligned with what they're looking for. That's also available to them. So NECBA is also an accrediting body,
Yes.
just like NAEYC, and so that's why we felt that the NECBA's National Administrator's Credential
100%.
would be a valid path to go, and also provide the accessibility for everybody on every island to
Yeah.
participate.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else, Kevin? I haven't seen.
No.
Okay, and then we just have one last portion, let me get to it. Okay, Allison or Heather?
Hi, I'll present. We're not going to go into too much of the state plan updates today since we have presenters later in the meeting covering that, but I get to share about how we had the privilege of traveling across the state to meet with families, caregivers, providers to gather feedback on the state plan. We had some really great conversations across all the neighbor islands, just finding out what the priorities are for families and specifically to their communities. Our survey that we launched, we're approaching 300. We're very close to 300 responses on that as well. So we've gotten a lot of really good feedback and information to know that what families care about.
Thank you, Allison. And are there any final comments for us?
Nothing in the chat.
No.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Let me go back to. Okay. Sorry, technology. Okay. So, this next item was deferred from our last meeting. And I was really hoping we could get this. Anyway, we're getting better at the timeline for the evaluation and criteria. So I had sent to board members the evaluation summary. So you should have had a chance to read that and reflect on that. How it works is I gathered feedback from board members. Ultimately, it's the board chair's responsibility to come to the final assessment or of the director. And I'm doing it with feedback from the board. So we had 9 out of 12 surveys were received. And there were comments that I didn't put every comment in, but I just put in a few comments. And we put in a pie chart for the different criteria. So these criteria were decided on last year for the director to focus on. And it comes from a longer list of criteria. And because Yuko is Yuko, she's actually tracking all of the criteria. But we asked her to particularly focus on these criteria. So we had, it's kind of a long document. And I wanted to just ask the board for your comments. I'm not going to go through the whole document because you have a chance to see it. Oh, I know what I have to do though. Hang on. Let me get back. I do need to go to the end because my summary at the end. Sorry, close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes. Okay. So I'm coming, okay, so here's the last page. I, as a chair, feel that the director has met all the expectations of the criteria. Okay, so what we can do is we can have a discussion first and then I can have the motion. And there'll be another opportunity for discussion. But I did feel that for all the standards, each standard, the director met expectations.
And the options were meets expectations,
Meets
needs improvement, and
Yeah.
don't know,
Correct.
right?
Thank you.
Just for public.
Yes, thank you. So those were the choices. Meets expectations, needs improvement, or you could, board members could respond, don't know, and then I asked, please let me know what information you need to be able to provide an opinion. So that would help us with the next go round. And the committee, the governance committee and finance committee together, when created the policy about directors' salary scale, which is connected to the evaluation. And what was discussed was that, in state government, if you're part of a union, you get a raise according to your union, no matter what, right? Unless you've like committed a crime and you're in jail, you get a raise. And it's not, so we decided to cut out the higher than expectations. Really what it is they meet expectations, or we can always commend the director on things that are well done. And in fact, just at the end of the last section, I really wanted to commend Yuko and the whole team, because you can really see, and people on our board that represent the departments, you can see how there is collaboration and coordination going on. And I think that's what we want to continue to build on. And it's really great to see that just coming together, And so thank you very much for that. So any other comments or questions from the board?
Yes, I just wanted to comment.
Sure.
I do agree with this. That my evaluation, but I wanted to just really comment on the item, standard number 2. EOEL under Yuko's leadership has done a tremendous job. Number 1, hiring someone and finding someone who was perfect for the job. And just going through that whole process, and because I was able to watch Yuko do this, I saw the care she took going through this process. Yeah, I just wanted to make mention that I am super impressed with your work in this area, your leadership in this area, your heart in this area. And it really shows through the great advocacy that was done by your team. Specifically Jen sitting here, and the is it collaboration or just the engagement with lawmakers, and it was just so beautiful to watch. And so I just wanted to congratulate you on that, and just hold my kai and just say good job.
Standard
Super
2
good
is
job.
advocacy and communication.
Yes.
I didn't want to make you guys go dizzy, so I found my copy.
But that was huge for the early learning
Yes.
system in Hawaii, just the work that you folks did, so. And supporting what's going on with the Ready Cake Initiative, just everything that you folks did. It was just beautiful to see. Mahalo on behalf of the rest of the kupuna out there who have grandchildren at this age, so thank you. But I agree with the evaluation outcomes are standard.
Thank you. Any other comments?
This is Joni. Based on what Kawi said, and I totally agree. I move to accept the rating of the director. I mean, of the chair.
Okay, thank you. A motion has been made. Can we have a second?
This is Stephanie. I can second it.
So we have a motion and a second. So any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none. I'm going to go through the voting board members and ask for your vote. So the motion is to accept the chair's recommendations that the director has met all of the expectations for all 5 standards. So Kau'i.
Aye.
Cheryl.
Aye.
Soma.
Aye.
Lindsay.
Aye.
Joni.
Aye.
Stephanie.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. Mahalo. Yay, we did it. Okay. So the next item is the next year's criteria. So that also was passed out to the board members. So this is what Yuko and I had worked on and agreed on. And she started working on this as soon as July 1st, the new fiscal year started, and she started. So what's highlighted are the focus areas for this 25-26 year. And for visionary leadership capacity building, we have about aligning resources and collaborating across the public and private sectors. So underneath that are specific activities that Yuko anticipates. So what this is the whole document as far as the leadership criteria. But what is highlighted is what is going to be focused on, okay? So if we go to the next highlighted area.
When you say focus, I'm sorry, you mean
Yes.
that's what she'll be rated on next?
Correct, thank you. That's what she will be rated on.
Even
The
though
end.
we know she's focusing on all,
Thank you.
she's going
Yes.
to be rated on the yellow highlight.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, thank you for that clarification. And so for the next part, standard 2, advocacy and communication. And the reason why we put all of the criteria in was because that was one of the pieces of information that board members said would help them. Well, what's the whole list? Because I only had the ones that were agreed upon. So now you're seeing the whole list, and what is highlighted again is what we agreed on, you would be rated on. So advocacy and communication is about utilizing opportunities and effective strategies to articulate the value of quality early learning, the value of a quality early learning system, providing collaborative leadership across sectors and constituent groups in support of the statewide plan, working effectively with the community, including philanthropic sector, to secure resources and develop effective partnerships to support strategic initiatives. And for standard 3, board relations, keeping the board regularly informed about the work of ELL, analysis of relevant data, and progress of shared priorities. Oh, and under that was, did I unmute myself? Am I okay? Okay, it says clarify on the EOEL website the positions that are directly in EOEL and how EOEL funds positions and projects. So this came from a comment that someone wondered, because there's so many people in the EOEL classrooms, but they are not listed on the website. So this is a clarification. For standard 4, recruits, hires, and retains qualified personnel, effectively assesses their performance and supports their ongoing professionalism and growth. And professionalism is kind of ongoing through everything. So those are the highlighted areas are the ones that she will be rated on. So my question to board members is, what are your comments? Are there other areas that you feel you would like to provide feedback on? Maybe we haven't.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so what Kali had asked,
Yes.
Kali asked, Yuko will work on all of these things, even the ones that are not highlighted, but will be rated on the only the ones that are highlighted in her evaluation.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Sort of.
And the designation was determined because, can you repeat that? You had mentioned that, Chair, why the yellow was selected.
Why the yellow were selected because we did in the feedback form get some comments. So your comments, board members' comments did help us to figure out the activities, or help you go figure out the activities that would support this different criteria. I guess, Dana, maybe,
Okay,
are you?
so if you
Yeah.
can maybe move to, I think was it 3 point something.
Board relations?
Okay, 3-3 or 3.3.
Mhm.
Works with the board to develop and implement strategic priorities to guide the work of the EOEL, including making policy recommendations and revisions. So I kind of see this to be an important role of, or not role, but an important, what's the word?
Criteria that,
Yeah, as the board and EOEL working together to help guide and help make these policy, or whatever the priorities are that ELB and EOEL feel should be the priorities and the policies. I mean, I feel like that is kind of like a big guiding principle that we do regularly.
okay, we can add that, we can highlight that one too. And I think this actually comes in line with the discussion that we'll have after Jordana's presentation about the current state plan. And so we could add, we don't have to approve this today. We can add, and then we can continue to work on it. So I'm marking that 3.3 as adding, because then we might have some specific activities that might become clear that could be added underneath this. So I'm marking 3.3 to be added. And Stephanie would like to say something?
Yeah, this this might blow the whole highlighting system. But I was also trying to think about our role as a board, and the importance of ensuring that the agency itself is operating in compliance with local, state, federal regulations and creating a budget and adhering to that budget. Like, those are things that kind of we're on the hook for as well. And so when I look at this, 4.2, 4.3, and also 5 to a certain extent jump out at me as things that just sort of baseline as a board, like the agency needs to operate legally, ethically, and effectively. So those feel important to me. And I think what maybe in my mind I did that might not be helpful is that, when we highlight things and we're saying, this is what we'll be evaluating against, to me, that creates a hierarchy of importance. And I think it sends the wrong message if we don't have the budget and operations and sort of legal components in that hierarchy of priorities.
Okay.
I just wanted to add that I was gonna ask to add the
Okay.
same two.
4.2 and
4.2 and 4.3 specifically.
Okay.
But I also was gonna ask for thoughts from you, Cole, and if there was a reason why that maybe. I mean, cause we know you're focusing on this, we know you already do this, right? But the difference between knowing that you're already doing it and being evaluated on it, that's where I wanted your thoughts and what you think about that.
So I actually appreciate the comments. When I was first hired, I had the whole sheet and then this highlighting had come to, and I think I might have been the first person that they used this on. And so they highlighted, because it was my first year, they thought like, okay, instead of doing like the whole thing, let's just focus on a few.
Mm.
And then the second year was when that whole turnover of the board happened.
Right.
And then we went into this past year. So I think this highlighting thing still continues forward. A lot of what we actually picked. Wait, let me back up. So the reason why I keep data on everything is because I feel like I'm supposed to do everything anyway as part of my job. So that's why I just have it anyway.
Mhm.
The highlighting thing, I can see what people are saying, and that's perhaps why I have a hard time only focusing on the highlighted parts,
Mhm.
because I don't know how to reconcile that with myself. But what I think is actually interesting is, I wonder if maybe when we have another conversation, that there will be some that are always constant and maybe some that could possibly be alternated, maybe. Or if I don't even know if that works out, because it sounds like, like when we talk about these foundational ones, like Dana mentioned 3.3 or the 4.2, 4.3 and the 5,
Mhm.
like, not that those are the only ones, but I wonder if the board always wants to do all and we just always do all, which is fine. Or if the board always wants to have, these are always on, and then these might rotate depending on things that are happening. I'm not really sure, but I think that this is great feedback.
Mhm.
It's not that I didn't pick it.
Mhm.
It was just more of trying to align what we're focusing on based on things that were like incomplete from last year, and also directly from the feedback from the board evaluation is
Mhm.
more so why those things were highlighted.
I'm just sorry, I'm just trying to think what the next steps are. I'm trying to think if we go back to maybe governance subcommittee to have more discussion. I think part of why we did it like this, and yeah, so Matt would be, he keeps pretty good notes, so he could probably tell us a little bit more about the history, but I think part of it was to make the evaluation manageable too, so so we can take all of this into consideration. So right now I've marked the 3.3, 4.2, 4.3, and also number 5, the professionalism, and made some notes on, I think in the governance subcommittee, we can discuss this more and then come back to the board with more information and see what the next iteration would be. Would that work?
Yeah.
Would that work for people online, my board members online? Any other comments? What do you think about people's idea of maybe prioritizing some items to be consistently reported on? Is that something that we want to look at?
I mean, identify which of these items would be always on.
Right, that's one idea, yeah. Okay, if you have any other comments or questions, email me. Because then maybe at our next governance subcommittee, I can ask Matt to facilitate that discussion. Okay, so again, I highlighted one, two, three, four more items, and we have some notes for further discussion. Okay, thank you. Great. Appreciate the thought that everybody has put into this. Any comments from the public? No. No? Okay. Okay, so we did pass that. No comments. Oh, Dana. Update on harm to students registry.
Okay. Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's see. So as the slide says, the Harm to Students Registry was created in 2024 by the legislature. During that session, DHS did ask to be able to receive information from the registry. However, as you know, when the bill was adopted, it did not include DHS to have access to the Harm to Students Registry. So in speaking with our AG's office, they did want us to keep in mind that there is a separation between childcare and education. And so if we were to be a part of the statute, it might blur this care and education line. So we thought about other options on how we could use or how we could access the information on the Harm to Students Registry. And one idea was to get consent from the individual who was like a prospective employee of a community-based childcare, to get that individual's consent to provide us information if they were a part of the Harm to Students Registry, and then using that consent to then approach DOE with that consent form. I think our next steps is to meet with someone from DOE. I think AGs need to speak on from both sides to figure out if it's even possible that DOE could even release this information even with that individual's consent. Because another opinion from the AG's office was that the registry is specifically exempt from UWIPA, and that probably includes, providing access to the registry, even with that consent. So,
It came from what? Dina, can you explain the acronym you just mentioned?
oh, it's the Uniform
Inform.
Information, something act.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking at it, something to do.
So our next step is to meet with DOE to figure out if we, if we can go that route of obtaining consent from the individual who is trying to be employed or live in a family child care home that is registered by the department to access that information.
I think Deanna has a comment.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that HIS itself, our organization, does not have access to the registry. Just our private schools have access. So I did want to make that point of clarification just because it was contorted a bit in the on the slide.
So they have to belong to HIS to have access?
No, just all private schools, even if they're not our members. So private preschool through grade 12 schools themselves have access, but our association, just the way that this reads, our association, HIS, does not have access. So we cannot cross-check on behalf of anyone. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments?
And this is for EOEL to have access? Is this what we're discussing?
So could I offer some
Yeah.
comments? So there's one, so this all came up because of employees who were traversing between public and private schools. That's where this kind of came from. So how do we keep track of maybe people who should not be making these pathways? If you're excluded from one, then they just travel to the other and they go back. So that's where the impetus for this came from. I think both parties, and when we're talking about private schools and public schools, not only can they access to see, but they have access to add. It's not just seeing, they can also add names. They can add names and they can see names. So if it is your employee, you can add it after, of course, due process and all that, right? You can add it, but you can also check if there's somebody coming. So it's just, it's participating both ways, not just viewing as a passive participant. It's add and check. And so when I was thinking about this, because EOEL belongs to public schools, we have access to add and check. But at the same time, we have contracts for Head Start on public schools, but they're not considered part of this add and check cohort because they're called childcare. The bill said pertaining to education, and somehow they are not pertaining to education. But for me, that was very troubling because this is about the whole people traversing between public and private institutions. And here we support both Head Start and EOEL, and half is like, yes, you are, no, you're not. And what about everybody else who's out there who can also make the same path as well? And so I think that that's why I had brought it up, that I think it was really important for the board to pay attention to this because it's seamless for K-12 system between public and private. But when we're down here in this space with us, there's a clear distinction of what is education and what is childcare, as Dana mentioned. And the rules or qualifications or what have you, it's not the same.
So would that require a policy change?
You know, I think it's a much bigger discussion about the words childcare and education, because those of us in early childhood know that it's care and education. And the distinction that AGs have made that childcare is not education is so anyway, but it is a much larger conversation. I thought that distinction between childcare and education in this state was pertaining to funding. It seems like that has expanded. So, it is a bigger conversation. It is a policy. It does have impact.
I just
on
wonder
policy,
if the issue is that we're trying to prevent.
Right.
We're
harm.
trying to prevent harm to children.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yes.
there is a flaw that exists.
Right.
And if it exists just within those, the entity, so Head Start, where Head Start does not have access to check and insert, then I'm thinking it might be a small language change within the policy that
The
would
statute.
allow, within the statute, excuse me, that would allow this interaction, right? The Head Start, Hawaii Head Start and the DOE specifically for this purpose, or, you know, whatever it is that state the words, right, within the statute, so. I just wonder, I mean, it's small, if we're just trying to prevent something like that, and it's so small that can, but it can make a huge difference. In the lives of, even in the life of even one child, it is worth it. And so, is that something we wanna talk about? I think it's critical enough to, yes.
It is an ongoing discussion. I am gonna end it here for now because we are kind of cutting into time that we need to have for our other discussions. So, Dana, thank you very much for the follow-up, and obviously, there's going to be more discussion. At this point, we had left it with DHS because DHS regulates the community-based programs and family childcare homes that are all part of this. So it is about preventing harm to children in all these different settings. So we'll keep, it's an important point of discussion, and we can keep looking at, what would be the.
Can I just make a point of clarification?
Sure.
I'm not even talking about the whole definition around care versus education. I'm just talking about specifically the engagement, the access for Head Start to access this registry or to access this list and to provide information so that this hole in the system, or this flaw, I should correctly state, does not exist. Not even talking about definitions of care or whatever.
Yeah.
So just, if we can, when we pick this up again, we talk about specific language within the statute that may need to be added or changed or whatever. But yeah, we can discuss that. I don't think it needs to be, I mean, we could have another discussion around care versus education.
No,
which
no,
is also critical.
right, yeah, that is, but yeah, no, as far as the statute, we'll keep talking about it. I might refer it to a subcommittee to hash it out. That includes, you know, of course.
Dana.
Yeah, Dana and whoever needs it, we need DOE. So yeah, we'll keep discussing. Thank you. Dana, did you have any other comment?
No, thanks, Elaine.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm gonna call a break for 10 minutes. Sorry, we're a little behind. So, actually, I'm gonna call a break for 5 minutes. I'm sorry, I really need the time for our discussion. We have Jordana with the city and county, and then we have the state plan discussion. So 5 minutes, you guys. Are we, am I on? Are we on?
Yes.
Oh, okay, we're on. Okay, thank you, Kevin. So, mahalo, Jordana Ferreira is here from city and county. She's the, early childhood coordinator. There, I see it. So, go ahead.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Chair, for allowing me the opportunity to present the city's 3-year childcare action plan. We are very excited to continue building on the city's longstanding commitment to childcare. Also because we know that it's really difficult for a lot of our hardworking families here on the island and across the state, especially those that are raising young children. It's much harder than it needs to be. We also know everyone in this room is familiar with the difficulty with accessing and being able to pay for childcare, which is why the city is committed to doing this work. Okay, so just a little bit about why the city's investments in childcare is very important to us. Everyone here knows that our families, especially here in Hawaii, work really, really hard. We also know that the high cost of living poses a financial burden for our families every single day. Many of us have direct experience with this ourselves or know someone very close to you. We also know that it's one of the biggest reasons why we are dealing with a huge out-migration issue. This is a priority for Mayor Longiardi. It's a priority of our administration to address this high cost of living. Because childcare is the third highest expense for our local families, that is one of the reasons why we have made this a huge priority and have committed to this 3-year action plan. Also concerning to us is Hawaii households who have children. Half of them fall under the ALICE threshold. It's very encouraging that poverty rates have decreased slightly in the state. However, ALICE threshold rates have maintained at about 29%. But when you factor in households who have kids, that jumps to half of our families.
So, and can you, Alice?
Oh yeah, ALICE is asset limited, income constrained, but employed. So these are households who have jobs, but they do not have disposable income, right? So it makes it very difficult for these families. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They're having difficulty being able to pay for necessary things. Housing and food are our 2 highest costs, but childcare is the 3rd highest expense for our families. Many of our families are paying upward of 25% of their income on childcare, and that's if you have 1 child. So if you have 2 children under the age of 5, you could be paying more than half of your paycheck on childcare expenses. Even for families who can afford this, access is still a very big issue. We know that children under the age of 5 who don't have access to a childcare seat at all is more than half. When you factor in younger kids under the age of 3, that gap balloons to 90%, and that is very concerning to us. Okay, so again, this is why the city is committed to this action plan. I'm not going to go over the details of the action plan. I did hand out a copy, and I'm happy to email anyone a copy if they'd like. It is also up on the city's website, so I'll be sure to put the links in the chat box after this presentation. But what I do want to share are sort of what drove this action plan and the goals that we identified through this work, and then I'll end with just a recap of the work that the city is doing already underway to ensure that we can accomplish the goals that we've set forth in this plan. So we engaged a lot of stakeholders last year, mostly early childhood professionals, families, and community partners, so including my city colleagues, as well as folks across different sectors. And it was through their feedback that we developed these 4 goals. So in these sessions, we actually ended up thematically coding a lot of the feedback we got, and we just really easily aligned 4 goals. Everyone in here will not be surprised by any of the goals that we've identified. I think it's longstanding issues that folks in the field are very familiar with. But I do want to say that similar to the state plan, this was a community-driven action plan. And I really do want to emphasize that although it's community-driven, it is a city plan, meaning the city can commit to the goals and activities that we have identified here. We might need to collaborate with other agencies, but we can take lead on the activities that we identified, and the city is committed to doing exactly that. So first and foremost, our primary goal listed as number 1 is bolstering Oahu's childcare workforce through effective recruitment, retention, and compensation strategies. This was intentionally listed as number 1 because we recognize that although this will be the hardest barrier to crack, it will be the most meaningful, with the most meaningful impact and results. So we are very committed to making sure that we are supporting the workforce behind our workforce, a workforce that is plagued continually by low compensation, and a workforce that is having difficulty with recruiting new folks to the field, keeping people in the field, and really incentivizing the work that we do here. We recognize early childhood professionals as exactly that. It's a specialized field. Not anyone can nor should be doing this work. And we want to support the elevation of our early childhood professionals in our community-based programs who are providing care for our families year-round, full day, and when families need it most. The second goal is supporting families' economic stability by increasing affordable childcare opportunities. I'll share more specific strategies a little bit later, but the city is committed to making sure that we are bolstering childcare opportunities, and we are focusing on affordability as one of the key aspects of that. Third is empowering families to make informed choices about early learning opportunities to enhance children's growth and well-being. We have a family engagement coordinator that has joined our team as well. So we've jumped from a team of 1 to a team of 4, which I'm very excited about. And we have someone who is specifically focused on families and helping them navigate resources here on the island. And then fourth, but also very, very important, embedded throughout each of these goals, is building the city's infrastructure to support children's well-being. So we really want to make sure that whatever we do in the next 3 years is sustainable, that it will last beyond us. Everyone here also probably knows that mayor's term is done. He's in his 2nd term. So when his 4 years is up for this round, we'll be electing a new mayor, we'll have new council members. So whatever work we do, we are committed to making sure that that will sustain no matter the transition in leadership that will happen in the next few years. So this goal was intentionally designed to be a 3-year plan, so that before mayor's term ends, we can work on a new plan, and hopefully the new administration and council will support the adoption of that plan as well. Okay, so
Did the council have to vote on this?
No. It was presented to council. Council seemed very excited about a lot of strategies. There's nothing required in statute. Nothing required in statute or ordinance for them to adopt.
So when you
it.
say supported by council, what?
To make sure they just support the initiatives that the city's putting forward. So council is another key stakeholder that we engaged in the development of the plan, and we'll continue to do that as well in the next iteration.
Say to approve the budget.
If there's budget requests, yep. Okay, so for the first goal, of course, I mentioned recruitment, retention, but also upskilling. So some of the things in the plan, we are working with our Work Hawaii division, which sits in the Department of Community Services. They're focused on connecting youth with job opportunities. They host a lot of industry job fairs, career fairs. So they're a natural partner for us here at the city. So we are working with them to host industry-specific job fairs. So of course, as we start to plan those out more throughout the next few years, we'll let everyone know. The other big thing that we have accomplished within the 1.5 years I've been here is amending our land use ordinance to increase home-based childcare workforce. So we were able to amend a provision in the land use ordinance that did in application restrict the ability of family childcare providers to be able to hire someone outside of their household. So with this amendment, they can now hire an additional staff member who does not reside in the household. This was based on feedback directly from family childcare providers. So we are very thankful to have worked with our colleagues at the Department of Planning and Permitting to support this amendment. And we now, on Oahu, you can hire additional people. It's not an issue in the other counties. So it's something that we as a city are very excited to be able to finally allow that to happen. For upskilling, we have some funding and executed a contract that for a vendor to provide trauma-informed care workshops. So Daniel Goya is our contractor who has updated the trauma-informed care toolkit, resource toolkit, and he will be hosting workshops across the island, across the different systems of early learning. So he will be at the HAYC conference. So if anyone's interested in attending his session, please feel free to go. We're very excited about this opportunity. We know that trauma-informed care principles are very important, especially understanding the rates of homelessness, poverty here on Oahu specifically. So we wanted to make sure that we were targeting a lot of families in vulnerable situations. He'll also be providing trainings to our FCIL programs, home visiting programs, center-based and home-based childcare providers as well throughout the rest of this year. Also excited to announce that we're launching the first ever childcare business acumen cohort. So our vendor for this is Patch, our statewide designated resource and referral agency. It is for small businesses who have less than 3 employees. They will be hosting monthly cohort sessions. So it'll be a cohort of predominantly family childcare providers. They will get intensive technical assistance and wraparound services on business acumen related topics. So for example, marketing, networking, financial planning, fiscal management, tax management, stuff like that. So very unique in that it will focus on the business acumen aspect. We really want to elevate, especially home-based providers, as serious professionals in the field, entrepreneurs, that they're not just babysitters. And so this cohort is something that will take us through the end of the year. And we are working with our colleagues at the Office of Economic Revitalization to see if we can sustain that in subsequent years moving forward. So this will be the first cohort. It's a pilot. Whatever lessons learned and feedback we get, we do plan to launch another one and incorporate some of those into the next iterations of them. And then for retention, we are working very closely with Early Child Action Strategy and other partners to deploy the cost model survey. This survey is to identify the true cost of care. So I do want to share for any childcare businesses out there who are listening to this, please take our survey. You do actually get a gift card as well. We secured some funding to be able to provide an incentive if you do complete it. It is first come, first serve. We still have plenty left, so please fill out the survey. The point of this survey is to really help decision makers and those that can do budget projections or make budget requests to help us better identify what the funding needs are. You know, we all know that right now a lot of our data is driven by market rate research, which is great, but all it tells us is what providers charge families. It doesn't tell us what it actually costs to run their business. So we really want this information because as we design more programming, we really need to know what is a meaningful funding amount, what would actually make a difference for childcare businesses. And right now we just have a huge gap in that area. So the cost model survey, it is very extensive. I've gone through it. Took us about an hour to complete, but it's very good data. It's very important data. It will not be shared with anybody. We do collect a lot, but I am also offering to childcare facilities on the island that I can come out to your facility and help you do the cost model survey. Again, all information provided is confidential. What we're really looking for are where are the highest expenses, where can we provide the most support, and what are profit margins. We really want local data. You know, we know nationally the profit margins are at 1%, which is really low, but we want to see what that looks like for our childcare businesses here in Hawaii. And on Oahu specifically, I would like to know by zip code. So the more providers that fill this out, I think the more meaningful data we can have and more strategic priorities we can identify. Okay. For the second goal, expanding affordable options for families, I do want to just give a huge highlight to the city, pre-me, of course, even before birth. The city actually launched the first ever childcare constructed facility in 1986. But what a lot of folks don't know or remember is that the city actually had a vested interest in childcare back in 1967. The city was the government agency that funded demonstration childcare projects in the Waianae and Kalihi-Palama areas, which paved the way for a lot of future demonstration projects that were then funded by the state. So the city was the first government entity to actually really invest public dollars into childcare, and they continued that commitment in 1986 by opening the doors of the Early Education Center. The Early Education Center is a true public-private partnership model. The city is not in the business of operating childcare. We don't want to. We're not the experts. We recognize this. We want our community-based organizations who have this expertise, who know this world very well, to be the ones that are deploying these services. But we provided subsidies in the form of constructing a facility and offering the facility at a very, very, very low rate to help shave some of the overhead costs that a childcare program incurs. Part of the stipulations of this service is that we do require our vendor to prioritize city employees, and we do require the vendor to charge affordable rates, and we have codified a definition of that, so it caps it. So the provider cannot charge more than the median average rate of childcare tuition across the state. So again, that is to keep the rates affordable for families. And we do continue to actually scale this model. So our goal at the city is to construct more childcare facilities within the next 3 years, and then to use our existing model to be able to contract those services out through a qualified licensed childcare program who will provide services to families. So right now, the city has 2 parcels on the island that have been deeded to the city specifically for childcare. One is in Kunia and one is in Eva. So we are working with the state SFA to be able to construct childcare facilities, and then we will manage the operations of the contract to oversee the actual services being deployed.
Where are those in Kunia? Where is it in Kunia specifically? Do you know?
Next to the parking ride, and then in Eva, it is right in front of one of our parks. Yeah. We have two other parcels that need to be deeded over to the city. So we're working with two different, well, actually we have three. So we're working with three different development organizations, two in Kapolei and one in Coal Ridge. So we are working on identifying the parcel that will be deeded to the city, and then the developers will have to subdivide those parcels to us and dedicate it over to us. And so once it becomes city land, then we can go ahead and move forward on constructing more childcare facilities. So the ultimate goal is we definitely want to have two construction projects completed before the end of mayor's term. And then for the other parcels to be fully dedicated to the city to continue on construction and expansion efforts. And then this model is being considered by other counties. So we have definitely agreed and offered to help the other counties work through some of their infrastructure processes as needed. So Kauai, I believe, is now the second county that has a facility that they will be running the operations for childcare for. So we've provided them some technical assistance on the side county to county to think through how they can make that happen on their island. Okay, and then for this slide, I just quickly want to share that this is actually the design plan for our Eva facility. So we will be building a 2-story childcare facility, and we're also going to be incorporating parking stalls and a parking structure, as well as outdoor natural play spaces. And our goal is for each of these facilities to at least be able to enroll around 150 to 200 children. Okay. And then the third goal, empowering families. So again, we know that despite the importance and need of childcare facilities, it's very difficult for families to access. We have deployed a survey that has gone out to just Oahu families, and just really quickly, I think some of the most concerning data points from these surveys, we've received over 600 now in just a matter of 2 months. We know families understand the importance of childcare, and we know that families recognize childcare as an important building block for children's growth and development. Over 80% of our families reported this. We also know that 70% of our families have reported childcare options are not enough, and more than half of our families have reported that they worry about childcare every single day. So we know that this is a really huge need, and we know that we really need to do something to address this. And again, this is just specific to Oahu. Oahu does have over 70% of the state's population. So when majority of our families are reporting this means majority of our families across the state are dealing with these issues. And then the last goal, building the city's infrastructure. So again, we have a team of 4. We have 3 full-time employees in the city budget that have been funded through city general funds, which we're very thankful and excited for. And then we do have an intern who is been doing tremendous work with us, and we do plan to continue having interns assist with a lot of our initiatives. We were able to secure $678,000 of federal funding through the PDG grant that Hawaii P20 has administered. We actually now have over 600 families that provided feedback on early learning needs, and we will be looking at that more intentionally and incorporating it into how we deploy some of our services and strategies related to our goals. And then I do want to just share that with the assistance of, I think, everyone now, right? We now have support at the federal level, the state level, and now the counties. In just the last year, and I want to give a huge mahalo to DHS for making the administrative rule changes for POD. Accessing subsidies has been one of our top priorities. We really want to make sure families who can access it are applying for those services. So we know that we have seen an increase of Oahu families enrolled in the Preschool Mentor's program in just 1 year by 78%. We saw a 78% increase, and that is really thanks to DHS's administrative rule changes. Now more families are more eligible for more money, which has been a huge game changer. So again, mahalo Dina and your colleagues for working so hard on that. So that's what we've been working at the city. We're gonna be scheduling resource fairs. We've executed a contract with a provider who will provide on-site interpreter services to families who speak languages other than English. So Ilocano, Tagalog, a lot of the Marshallese, Kofa languages. We'll also be doing some contracts for Spanish, Japanese, and Cantonese and Mandarin. So our vendor will be hosting these resource fairs, and the intention of that is to provide interpreter services to help families answer questions about early childhood programs and services, and to help them actually apply for it. So it'll be an intensive technical assistance opportunity. So we're very excited for that to happen, and I'm happy to share any information about those pop-up fairs when we host it. So if you want to send your families, your friends, your colleagues that information, please, we do want to see more people.
Right, and probably good if you just share it with ELBL, because they have the bandwidth to
We'll
share.
share it with Patch for sure.
Patch,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? I want to keep it really short because I apologize. I really want to give our next presenters time also. Really, thank you, Jordana. That's a lot of work that's been done in the last, the last year. So thank you very much. And congratulations. I think this really segues nicely into our next presentation. And it's with our West Ed facilitators and UCO about the state plan and the current update. And I apologize, we only have half an hour. I was wanting to have more time, but I should have managed time better in the beginning, in the earlier part. So I'm gonna give it over to them. And we might have to, I would encourage you to jot your questions and comments down, because we are gonna have to end at 4. We might not have time for those questions and comments. So as you're listening, please go ahead and jot down your questions and comments. So let me give it to Brian and Krista. Thank you very much for being here virtually. We had them in person last month, but they're here virtually.
Thank you so much, Chair Yamashita and board members. It's our pleasure to be back here with you tonight to follow up on our presentation from last month. We met several times, Yuko and your board chair and I, to make sure we captured all your questions and are bringing you some additional information and updates about where we are at with the update to Hawaii's Early Childhood State Plan. And I'd like to hand over to Yuko to walk us through some review of the processes that led up to where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll keep this really brief, but I wanted to bring back some slides from prior board meetings about the process that we've been taking to develop this new revision to the state plan. So back in March, we pulled together the PDGB5 team to talk about how do we want to proceed? What do we need to think about? What are the lessons learned process-wise from the prior state plan? And how do we want to engage with people? So this was a planning about how we want to actually go about achieving this work. And so you can see the different participants who were there, but some of the things that came out from this was there was something about community being very cautious about EOEL dictating what everybody's supposed to be doing. People really wanted to make sure that family voices were involved. People wanted to make sure that they could see themselves as part of the plan. And so the way that we went about thinking about doing this was also thinking about the comprehensive needs assessment and also things that kind of tripped up the system in the past. And one of the things that tripped up the system in the past was that even though a lot of people who were doing the work had a lot of great ideas, they wanted to accomplish a lot of things, for some reason, the leadership at the system level, I would say, couldn't unlock it for people. And that's why the steering committee was created, not as the driver of everything, but as the listener to what is actually happening in the field, what people are hoping to accomplish, some things that they already have in motion, and then to make sure that we can see it, to clarify exactly what they're looking to do, what they're working on, and to make sure that across all of us, we are not the hindrance to the progress of the state plan. So skip, next plan, please, skip to the next slide, please. I'm sorry, go back, I'm sorry, I was fumbling over my words. And so this is what we presented in terms of the activity. So we facilitated how to organize this. Then we created that steering committee from different lead organizations. We brought together people for 2 consecutive days. And then we started to work on the teams from the building blocks. And so when we convened, when we were looking at who do we invite over the 2 consecutive days, we took a look at the comprehensive needs assessment and the people across the whole early learning field. And we were very intentional to make sure we had island representation, family representation, program representation from every place. And one of the comments that came out after we talked about these 2 consecutive days of in-person training is, but what about people from neighbor islands who couldn't travel? And that was the impetus behind us now going out and doing the state plan tours that Heather and Allison mentioned earlier. Then from the summer, from June until it said August, but it's going into October, we convened building block committees. So trying to make sure that the invitations, so the names of the building block representatives came from the face-to-face sessions, but it also came out from other people who learned about it, said, hey, can I be a part of it? Like, of course, she can be a part of it. And so that's how we built it up, but always ensuring we have island representation, trying to see if we have as much program representation in terms of who was invited and reached out to. You know, some people said yes, and maybe for whatever reason, we're never able to participate, but the invitations were certainly there, and the awareness and invitations were also there as well. Next slide, please. So this is that community engagement forum in terms of what are we hoping to see long-term, but also thinking about what we can do right now collectively, thinking about the comprehensive needs assessment and work that each group is doing. How do you want to see yourself as part of the solution that we're all trying to strive for? Next slide. And so again, the voices that really came out were families, parents, guardians, families, over and over again. And so that is why we have gone to family activities. This is why we did outreach right in communities. This is why we have the family survey, and this is why they were invited to the face-to-face sessions. And so we have been very intentional to remember that people did not want a dictated plan, that people wanted to, and we were also trying to grow capacity in the early learning system. One of the things that we noticed is that, you know, if you go to many meetings, you're going to see the same faces over and over again. They just kind of keep switching hats. But how do we grow our field to involve more people? Who else needs to be brought into the circle? Who else may be experts that don't necessarily tout themselves as experts, but have deep, interesting information to contribute? And how do we welcome them into this space so that they can help all of us together? And so, you know, recognizing all of what they have to contribute and trying to put it into the plan is how all of this, the genesis behind where we are right now. And so it's not clean, it's not quick, and there will always be room for improvement. But I think the comments that we have received from many people is that they have appreciated being a part of it, being welcomed. At our face-to-face session, we had people saying, like, I've never worked with any of these people before. But when we're looking at health, mental health, nutrition, all of these people also play a very important role in early learning and child development. And that's why they were welcomed into this space. Okay, next slide. Okay, and then this is yours, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Thank you, Yuko. So the outcome of all of those meetings from March through May, through the Community Engagement Forum, we're really clarifying what the purpose and the structure would be of this revision to the state plan. And there were three main categories that emerged. The first being the plan should show collective impact. So as Yuko shared, folks were happy with the idea that EOEL was stepping up as a convener to support the work, but there was assurance that EOEL would not be a main decision maker of the plan, and that the state plan should reflect the shared goals of a mixed delivery system. So not EOEL in particular, and also not any other one agency. Really, there was a strong emphasis on this being a collective effort that reflects the mixed delivery system and also the cross systems nature of this work. The third bucket was the emphasis on community voice. So wanting to keep the building block structure, but to create committees who would identify the shared goals and priorities. And those committees will include providers, families, and smaller organizations, as well as the typical players that you see across the state as committee members who are making the decisions about what would go in as goals and priorities for each of those building blocks. And then the final request was noting from the previous plan, what didn't work so well was a lack of metrics in the original plan. Although later metrics were added through building blocks, they did not exactly align with the original plan goals. And there was no plan for gathering baseline data or data for progress updates. So there is a wish for this plan to be a living document to collect and publish annual data to identify initial baselines and progress toward goals. And of course, to keep the community involved throughout the life of the plan, to contribute both to the analysis and to the updates for the strategic priorities. And since we were meeting with you last, we've had further progress. So as Yuko had shared, this is an iterative process that started in March, and due to the PDG process needs to wrap up by December. So we are taking advantage of every minute of this time that we have to have back and forth feedback with committee members, with public engagement, and with the steering committee to fine tune the goals. So the last iteration went through a copy edit to move the plan from goals and action priorities that were developed in isolation with each committee into a more cohesive and unified document. And we are in the process now of meeting in person, online one last time with each building block to review this final language, to get approval for the changes, and also to take one last look at the tool as a comprehensive whole. So these are available in your board packet. For time, I won't review each one, but you can download those and review at your leisure. And then we further define the building block progress data. Last time we met, we were still using the term key progress indicators, which from feedback from this group and from some of our committees, we found that that term threw some folks off as far as what type of plan and what type of metrics we are using. So to be more specific about what we meant, we are keeping with the same concept, but just calling it building block progress data. We hope this change better reflects the function of the data in illuminating collective progress made by agencies and organizations across the state in support of the building block goals and action priorities. The building block progress data is shared voluntarily and can be used to inform a dashboard, annual reporting, identify baselines, and establish progress or lack of progress as the plan progresses. And here's a breakdown of how that might show up. So as an example from building block 2, we have shared goals across the mixed delivery system, and the action priorities are trend metrics that will be used to measure progress. So in this example, we're looking at increasing the number of early learning programs and elementary schools that include Ohana and communities in planning for kindergarten transition outreach and supports. The building block progress data sharing, initially, what we are working on right now with the committees is their finalization of what work that we know about that is currently going on in the community that we can elevate as examples of progress for those action priorities. Their work will be aggregated into like types of actions. So in this example, what we are seeing so far is agencies and organizations that are offering planning support to early learning programs to help with kindergarten transition. And we're going to be getting data from public and community-based early learning programs who offer kindergarten transition support directly to families. And then in the white below, you'll see an example of what that annual data collection might look like as it is published in aggregate to show progress, opportunities, and gaps for each action priority. An important thing to note is that not only is this data voluntarily shared, but we will not be collecting any personally identifying or confidential data. This is data that is rolled up to the level of services provided, number of families served, number of workshops, that type of information. All of that rolled up together into the clear purpose of the state plan revision. So again, the purpose is to identify shared goals and action priorities across the whole mixed delivery system while serving as a vehicle to monitor collective progress and guide future investments. It's focused on the idea of many paddles, one canoe. So the work of agencies and organizations of all sizes across the mixed delivery system will be reflected in the plan and through the building block progress data, which will be collected annually by EOEL and published to show progress opportunities and gaps. And the focus is on navigating together. The plan's goals and action priorities, coupled with the annual building block progress data updates, will support agencies and organizations across the mixed delivery system in aligning work, resources, and in enabling the contributions of many to advance a shared vision for Hawaii's Keiki and Ohana. We have found it helpful, and thank you to board member Stephanie for elevating this example, to share a similar collective effort that is actually going on in Hawaii that you may or may not be familiar with. It is the Aloha Plus Challenge. This has been in existence since 2014, but like the Hawaii Early Childhood State Plan, has an end date of 2030. So a great example to see a public-private partnership that is based on progress metrics and voluntary community data sharing that's been underway for quite a few years. So you can see an example of their dashboard and their annual reporting. Like the Hawaii State Plan, they have 6 main goals parallel to our 6 building blocks. They have 35 targets that are parallel to the action priorities in the Early Childhood State Plan. And you'll see from some of their examples here that while some of their data points are very number specific with a very clear end date, like the amount of carbon emissions that's easily measurable, like the Early Childhood State Plan, they also have quite a few trend metrics that are focused on identifying progress and growth across these desired outcomes, and identifying, also gathering information to identify what the baselines are and what direction we're moving. And let me go back real quickly. They organize their data and label it as progressing toward the target, moving away from the target, cannot be assessed, or showing little to no change. So if you have not seen this plan yet, I'll pop a link to the website in chat, and you can also use the QR code on your screen to get a link directly to their website. And I encourage you to take a minute to look through. We've been doing this with our building block committees, and they've shared that they find it really helpful to see an example of how this data might be collected and how the data might be shared. Our timeline for wrapping up this process is right now, ends in December. So right now in October, we are doing this final round of building block committee meetings. We are sharing with them also the data that was collected by EOEL during September's community engagement forums. And they are meeting to review the copy edited draft of the goals and action priorities, and then submitting their final data sharing information. In November, West Ed will prepare a draft of the full plan for EOEL and the building block committees to review for a final sign-off. And then December, we'll be making any adjustments based on feedback and delivering the plan to EOEL and the Early Learning Board. And then looking ahead, so we don't want this plan to sit on a shelf, but certainly not ending in December. So looking ahead 2025 through 2030, going back to that goal that emerged early on of wishing this plan to be a living document. EOEL staff are committed to collecting data annually from community partners, analyzing and publishing that data to a dashboard and annual report. They are committed to continue to engage the broader community through building block committees with possibility of expanding the role of those or the participation of those committees, both to increase the diversity of voice and based on some feedback that we've had from committee members, some guidance on how to best include representatives of groups that already exist. And then finally, those building block committees will work to support data collection, review findings, and provide recommendations for adjustments to action priorities or goals as the work progresses. And our question to get your conversation going, your discussion in these last few minutes are, how does the Early Learning Board wish to support this work?
Krista, may I also add in one more thing?
Mhm.
It's kind of related to the question about how does the Early Learning Board want to support this work? Because one of the things that you might notice, so EOEL as the convener was very intentional as our team members participated to sit and listen and learn in each of the building blocks. Not to drive anything in any certain direction, but to really listen and learn from everybody who was in each block. The one thing that after we listened to the last time that we did not do was we did not necessarily insert ourselves into the plan either at this time. And so, but we can and we will. And so likewise, like when I'm thinking about how does the board, so I want to first say thank you to Chair for saying Early Learning Board members should participate on committees. So I appreciate that because then the board has been a part of the plan. If the board feels like they want to add a metric for themselves, that's fine. If the board feels like they want to add a metric for EOEL in here somewhere, I think that would be fine too. The one thing that I would caution about, when we're looking at the big broad goals that have already been established is that I wouldn't want to tinker with those things too much because all of our community partners have already aligned themselves with it and it might make their metric no longer relevant. That would be concerning to me, especially after they've been participating for so long, getting the permissions from their required agencies and what have you. But I think one of the what it sounded like in some of the prior conversations at the last meeting that maybe the board is not a part of a plan or doesn't have a voice in the plan or what have you, but I think if the board ever wanted to add a metric for themselves or for EOEL, we're not opposed to the board having that kind of input to the plan. But I would hope that the board in general would be supportive of the plan.
And for, as chair, I sit on the steering team committee and the steering team is also building block 6, which is about systems. And so I have inserted one description of us creating policies to support the state plan. But that's all that I have so far. But I do sit in on those discussions and this was a very concentrated amount of time to do this plan. And, thankfully we could build on the previous plan and learn from that previous plan. So really taking all of that feedback seriously resulted in this. So we have a couple minutes for comments from board members. Stephanie, go ahead.
I just wanted to check in with Yuko and the EOEL team around this commitment from EOEL staff about collecting data annually, analyzing and publishing a dashboard and annual report. So I'm in building block 4, and right now there are over 20 progress indicator. Sorry, I haven't internalized yet what the new name is. But there are over 20 metrics alone for that building block, and there are 6 building blocks. So we're potentially looking at over 100 pieces of data that EOEL staff you all are saying you're committed to collecting, analyzing, publishing, and reporting on. And I just wanted to check in on the extent to which you all have done an analysis to look at what capacity you would need. And if the organizations also understand what they're committing to long-term and what staff capacity they will need to have on hand to provide those data before we say this is, what we're committed to doing. And I think this is especially pertinent as we think about our budget request and the savings that we discovered and whether or not those savings actually need to be allocated to this so that we don't lose momentum on this work.
Thank you for asking. Krista, did you want to talk about the data survey that you guys created for the building blocks? Maybe we could start from there and then.
Sure. And just to clarify, the metrics that we'll be measuring against are those action priorities. So there are 2 to 3 per goal, and there are 2 goals per building block. The community progress data is what will be the wide net for data collection, and that's very similar to the Aloha Plus challenge model. And so far, we've been working just with the committee members to share their own building block progress data and the work of partners and other organizations across the mixed delivery system that they're aware of, who have invited in. But the idea is to have that door open to cast a wider and wider circle. One of the purposes of the state plan was not only to establish these common goals and action priorities, but also to establish baseline data for where we are across the mixed delivery system in working toward these goals. So we can start with, the big players who have agreed to share their information, also some smaller agencies and organizations. And then annually, the idea is to send out a survey that makes it very easy for agencies to respond, listing each of the goals and action priorities and inviting them to share data about activities that they are doing that would contribute to the progress. So those activities will be rolled up. That's where the analysis comes in from the EOEL team. But the idea is making a very simple instrument. We have condensed all of this into a Google survey that the committee members are currently using. It is tuned to committee members who have been talking about this work for months now, so it's not exactly what you would want to use as a public instrument, but it's a model that you can build off of for moving forward. And Wested will be working with the EOEL team between now and December to get started on that instrument.
Okay, I just want to follow up to check for understanding. So I understand the action priorities are the buckets that we're reporting progress on. And there's 3 per building block. And we are considering looking, or somebody is considering looking at the sort of rating system similar to what Aloha Response Challenge uses. I think I understand all of that. But where I think I'm confused then, because my understanding was that the community progress data points were the data set that would be looked at year over year to help identify progress and opportunities against the action priorities. But now I think I'm hearing that we're not necessarily collecting those same data points year over year, that each year it's kind of like, anybody who wants to fill out this survey and tell us your data, is that right? Or is there an attempt to have longitudinal data over what we're currently gathering?
Great. Thank you for that question. The attempt will be both of those things. So if you see an example here, there is an assumption that we will have data immediately from EOEL, Head Start, charter schools who have already committed to sharing data around this action priority. And then our example here might be that 25% of community-based child care centers who shared their data completed a kindergarten transition training. That data reporting on that metric will adjust as years go on, as more programs become aware of this effort and contribute their data. So right now, you couldn't set a target of we need to get to 75% of community-based programs because we don't know how many are already doing this work. So keeping that door open for more programs to share their data, it will be longitudinal because we're still collecting along these categories. What are publicly funded agencies doing? What are community-based childcare programs doing? But the pool that we're drawing from should grow as the plan progresses.
I'm not even talking about setting targets. I'm talking about like, what are the data sets that that are being collected and analyzed longitudinally? So not even setting targets yet. Is it the intent that, like the ones that are listed here, for example, the 21 that are in building block 4, is the intention that those 21 are data on those are collected and reported on each year, with the potential to add more, right? And understanding that things will be in flux as more people come in. So is it that those ones will continue year over year? I think I just want to make sure we're clear, like, if that is the intention, that's over 100 data points that are collected and then also analyzed to be able to speak to the action priorities. So while we're reporting on 18-ish action priorities, it really is potentially over 100 data points that are then analyzed to feed into our ability to report on the 18. And I think that we should be thinking about that when we think about what staff capacity you all may need, what software capacity you may need, what dashboard development capacity you all may need, because it's not, I mean, having a spreadsheet is great, having a Google form is great. You're still going to need to do the follow-up and do the analysis and do the outreach to get more data in so you can ensure you have clean data for over 100 data points. So I just wanted to contribute that. I know we're almost out of time, sorry.
Yeah, we are out of time. I'm so sorry.
I did just want to shout out, I see quite a few folks who are committee members who attended the meeting tonight. So wanted to recognize them and thank them for their participation across this process.
And you do have a list that was sent out to you of the building block committee, the people who have signed up for those committees. So I'm sorry, I do have to end the meeting. I will say that we did vote on the minutes. We approved the director evaluation. We have more points of discussion. We had an interesting, good presentation from city and county. I will continue harm to students and discussion on this year's criteria for the director and this. So next month, for sure, we're having more time. So mahalo, everybody. Thank you, Krista. Mahalo. And thank you, everybody, for attending.